legends climbing higher. Ropes and fists, the battle calls. Broken bones, crashing walls. DeFalco's reign, iron rule. In the ring, none escape the duel. Stars of tomorrow.
Hey everybody, Matt Michaels here on the DeFalco Files with the owner and creator of FSW here in Las Vegas, Mr. Joe DeFalco. Joe, it's going to be a busy weekend for you.
Yes, sir. Double shot Saturday and Sunday this weekend.
And that doesn't happen often. It's like you got a
generally,
little rejuvenation going, huh?
yeah, it just kind of worked out that way. We were able to put together the women's show, so that was going to be on the Sunday, and then it was like, okay, well, we need a future shock. It's been doing well. We got some good young talent, and we were even discussing possibly doing the future shock on the same day, and almost like a double ticket, which would have been interesting. But being that it was a Sunday instead of a Saturday, it didn't really make a lot of sense because on the Sunday, we got to do a 5 o'clock show, not really an 8 o'clock show. So if we were doing a 7 o'clock Friday or Saturday night, obviously we wouldn't do it Friday. So Saturday would be the day you could do a 2 o'clock and a 7 o'clock, for example, if you wanted to spread it out, type of thing.
Right.
But, we settled on every 5 o'clock Saturday when we do Future Shock is the normal time anyway. So it's like, why change from that successful period that we utilize for Future Shock? So you always know it's kind of like the 5 o'clock on a Saturday. It's the earlier show. You get it done with. It's usually no more than 2 hours. Could be a little bit less, but by 7 o'clock you're out the door and you have the rest of your Saturday to enjoy. While the Saturday night, the bigger shows, hey, that's the event that you're going to. This is something where Future Shock is based more toward the family and friends. So, and Sunday just became Sunday when we first discussed it, just because of scheduling. Because Brittany Brooks was booked on the Saturday and the Friday, and Gypsy and Layla Gray's coming in, from AEW taping from Friday night working or Saturday or whatever they're doing. So it's like, Sunday we usually try to save for our bigger casino shows just because of the rate we get at the Silverton and the availability. Now there's no questions. Usually that Sunday's got a better shot of being open for the talent you're trying to acquire to appear at the show.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk a little bit about Future Shock on Saturday, 5 p.m. Here's the big blow-off match at this point, shall we say?
Yeah, we're still discussing some kind of no DQ type match in there. It's like these two need to settle it once and for all, and somebody brought up the idea of a dog collar match, and it's like, okay, well, that's not the most exciting match to me, but they're trying to come up with concepts and based off what everything happened in them with the chain that Davion took. So we're still putting it together, but it's going to be some sort of no DQ type match.
Well, I mean, it involves a chain. So how about a chain wrestling match where all they can do is do chain wrestling?
Well, that's on the table. A chainsaw match is on the table, the winner dismembers somebody's limb, and that's how you become victorious. That's also possible. A Demir chain on a pole match is another option that we were looking at. My favorite idea was the Russian sickle match, but
Yeah.
they have no idea what that is. So, and Nikita Koloff we approached, but he is unavailable to be the special guest referee, so there won't be a Russian sickle match.
You should have let me know, man. I could have gave him a text and seen if we could get him out here.
There you go.
All right. So we got that going on. And then we also got Bodie. He's the Future Legends champion, and he's defending that against Jaden Cole. I mean, has Jaden been that impressive that he's already getting a championship match?
He already got a heavyweight championship match. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's crazy to think that the heavyweight championship match. Okay, that's but this is in play here. This is the Future Legends belt, right? I mean, right now,
if he's been that impressive and in 3 matches he's getting an opportunity to wrestle the FSW heavyweight champion, who many people feel is one of the best wrestlers on the West Coast, is wrestling Bodie, something that's a bigger deal than the heavyweight championship. Come on.
Because I think that the heavyweight championship, there was no way that he's got an opportunity there of beating them.
Dude, Colin Muldoon got a Future Legends championship match. It's for the young talent on Future Shock under 25 years old. Win or lose, who's been more impressive than Jaden Cole?
Yeah.
And again, a lot of these guys are over the age bracket to begin with, but a Demir and Davion, yeah, that's something that probably down the line that they would be fighting for. But right now they're involved in their own thing.
Right. Yeah.
And normally Bodie likes to do an open challenge type thing. But it's like, you know what? You got to understand, this guy goes to training 3-4 days a week. People see him in training. I hear from people, oh, yeah, that Jaden Cole. Oh, yeah, that Jaden Cole. And that's the behind-the-scenes stuff that you only see. Oh, yeah, this guy, yeah, he's pretty good. He had a few matches. But it's like, be aware of, how much less time he's trained at FSW compared to other people. And we've always talked about it, the attitude, the work ethic, the behind the scenes, what you're doing to make yourself valuable to the company and selling tickets and whatever you need, and you don't get that. That's the biggest problem I have with the younger guys, that they're all feel entitled.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's great, man. I appreciate you paying dues. That's what you're supposed to do. I appreciate you when you're there doing stuff. But sometimes we need that little extra, and there's a lot of people that don't want to give forth that effort.
Yeah.
And when situations arise and you need X amount, you got to go to the people that are there. And, right now, some people that you might have seen on the last couple of Future Shocks are not on there because we're giving opportunity. That's what it's about. But when we give you the opportunity, it's like the main roster. You got to earn that spot. So if you go in there and you have a match that's iffy, and then you go out and you have another match that's worse than the last one you had, the odds are you're not getting that third match until we feel you're ready. People thought, hey, you know what? I think this guy. Nobody says, hey, he's ready. Yeah, putting him in. It's, hey, I think, you know what? He might be ready to get that opportunity. And we have a young kid, Kevin, who started with us in the kids class. He wrestled on a show in a kids class match. But he's always around. He's always helping. Remy put him over. It's like, hey, let's see if we can get something for Kevin, the Arizona ace. And he's going to be involved in a 6-man tag because, you know what? We want to reward people that are working hard and putting in the effort. it takes up a lot of people to get here that never get here. But at Future Shock, you got to be here. And when you start, you're way down underneath. So it's like, okay, let's give it a shot and see what happens. Because, you know, sometimes people in practice, maybe they seem to be able to do some good things, and then you bring them to the big time and they're deer in headlights. They're in front of people. Hey, you know what? Maybe they can do a lot of the drills, and then they can work some spots and things like that. But when it comes putting it together, you know, that's what I've heard on some of the guys on Future Shock, that, hey, you know what? They're not able to remember certain things and positioning and where they need to be. And it's easy in practice because when you fuck it up, you just do it again.
Right.
So now you might be able to physically do the spot, but the question is now when you're in the ring and you put everything together before the match, and now it's time to do the match, when you get lost, how good are you at getting back to point C when you screwed up? Because you know, the best wrestlers in the world, you know, you always hear about SmackDown at the tapings. They had to redo the finish.
Yeah.
Because, hey, something happened. You know, it's just the way of the business, you know. Yeah. And as long as you're not, you know, trying to give receipts, you know, you're okay.
Jesus Christ. All right. You brought it up. We might as well talk about it.
Hey, dude, it's this week's topic of the it's the topic of the century for this week.
Right. Okay. So, you know, when we talked about it on our show the other day, my feeling is the company needs to be shut down. And I know it's an extreme thought, but what was done seemed to be, as more things kind of peel out, especially because it was talked about, I guess, on Nox Pro's, chat. It seems like this was a setup in some regards. And I mean, if you allow someone and you don't smarten them up, then you are literally sending someone in to assault a person. Is that not the case?
I think there is so many variables in this situation that is mind-boggling to me. I've had conversations with a guy like Rip Rogers, who's old school doing it. He was in Tuesday as usual with Sin. Had the conversation with Sin, had conversations with wrestlers, had conversations with Hammerstone, Graves. You know, I'm going to preface this by saying we had an incident with AJ Mana a couple of years ago. Okay. Uh-huh. And it was and again, it was about a battle royal situation, and involved was Remy Marcel and Graves. And I couldn't tell you exactly what happened. There was a certain thing they were doing. MK was the manager, and AJ Mana refused to get eliminated in the battle royal for whatever reason. He said to me something afterwards, well, he was supposed to do it, Remy. So when Graves was trying to do it, it's like, dude, what the fuck are you even talking about? But I guess there was an issue. Rocky claims that AJ Mana was heated because I know about something, and he was looking for a receipt, is what I was told. So I don't really know, and I'm not going to say that that's what exactly happened. But all I can comment on was the thing with Graves, where it's like, get the fuck out of the ring type of thing. And you could see where he gets thrown over and he's grabbing the rope and he refuses to go. And Graves is literally trying to kick him out of the ring. And it took forever. And it was really weird. Okay. And that was just like a weird thing. And then we stopped using him after that. It was just like he was too, as an ex-MMA guy, there were people who felt he was too stiff. And I guess in that battle royal, I'm not even sure if it's that one. I was talking with Bodie, because Bodie, in a different one, the Nick Bockwinkel battle royal, which I guess would have been before, I'm not positive,
Right.
because I'm pretty sure I didn't use him after the Rumble match. So it might have been before that. Sin, Bodie, so Sin, Bodie, and AJ Mana were involved in something where Sin was trying to bring him toward the ring post, and AJ Mana deliberately hit his head and made his nose bleed for no reason whatsoever. So I don't know the full story on that. I just knew he was bleeding. I didn't realize that he did it himself. So now going back to everything, starting from the beginning, I thought it was extremely odd that some guy who doesn't know somebody walked up to him, got in his face, and hit him with a gimmick beer can. Okay.
Right.
We trained guys like Phil Baroni and Stephan Bonner. And if somebody did that to Phil Baroni, I swear we would have had to call an ambulance.
Right.
He would have murdered the guy right then and there. Okay.
Yes.
Because I didn't understand what that was about. Now they supposedly made up. They said all the things. But regardless of everything that happened, if somebody's having a fight, and in the fight, I immediately knock you out, I don't care what happened previous. The fight's over. You beat the guy up. He's fucking unconscious. To throw 22 punches, throw 3 punches, that is literally assault. And I'm watching TMZ, and Harvey Levin's like, I think that's going to be attempted murder, because you have an unconscious guy. And then the stupidity just gets worse that I saw yesterday that I didn't see. That after they finally got Rampage's kid and calmed down or whatever in the corner, whatever happened, there was people in the ring. Now the guy who was in the match with Psycho Stu covers him, and the fucking referee counts. Like, this is a WWE ID school. It was like, is there no common sense whatsoever? But I will say,
not anymore.
But
not anymore.
But I will say, we try to teach people, and I tell you all the time, the dumbest motherfuckers you've ever dealt with. Now, we've never had anything go to the extreme. And when you say, well, that school should be shut down, well, maybe because there's some actions that they've done, but I don't think they should be shut down because of those actions of what happened in the ring. That there's not much you can do about it. If that's something happened with Phil Baroni, the difference is, we always used to joke in the past, if something happens, Gallo, go out there and fucking clear the ring. Hey, Graves, we always joke, if anybody fucks up and you want to go over and you ain't listening, Graves is going to come in and beat the fuck out of you. Now, we're not really saying he's going to beat the fuck out of you, but now when you're on camera and you say something like that because you're saying it jokingly, there's a lot of things in those conversations that were aired because it was on a live stream that people are saying for the purpose of it. So it's such a convoluted, complicated thing. But to say, hey, you can't talk to the police if they basically shut it down. Well, is it any different than when Bruiser Brody got stabbed in a fucking locker room that nobody basically talked to the cops about it? You know what I mean? I guess that comes from the old school mentality of you keep everything in house. I don't know. That's something I would be cool with, but
you gotta remember too. Like back then, that was in Puerto Rico, right? So that was all that was a total different jurisdiction at that time. The problem here, and this is the problem I have, is that when you bring up everyone that you mentioned in terms of FSW, people that have been used and stuff, they're all trained, right? They're all trained. You took someone who's high profile, you took them backstage, you set up an angle, which is what it seems to have been, But my problem is, in the end, that guy's defense attorney is going to put this on AJ Mana, Rikishi, and anyone else who was involved in that promotion in that school as basically not telling that guy what he needed to do in terms of professional wrestling. Literally saying, "Go out there and get him, get a receipt."
Right, because the defense attorney needs to say, well, because my client is a fucking moron. His dad wrestled for TNA.
Exactly.
Anywhere in the real world, when you knock somebody out and they're unconscious, like I said, in a real fight,
Right.
you would have stopped beating the guy up. You continue to beat him up.
Beat him up.
So what is your defense for that? Yeah, I could get the idea of, hey, this was part of an angle. But the minute he took him down with the double leg, he was knocked out.
So I guess that brings up the point, and people have suggested that Mana had a problem with Stu, and the question is, was this a hit then? Because what if Mana said, "Go out there and just keep beating him until so and so does this," but no one was told to go do that?
But he didn't say that. He said, just get your receipt. You know your receipt is. Anybody can read into, but because now you got to prove supposedly in the court of a law reasonable doubt. Right. Now, AJ Mana was smart in the terms of, oh, well, the cameras were on, and now he's trying to backtrack to save himself. And it's like, and again, you got the internet going crazy. I just woke up, and the minute I saw, the first thing I see is somebody posted about what a work it is. It's like, so you think they lost their ID and AJ Mana, so even if it was a work, wow, even the hospital was in on it because they let the guy stay in the hospital for 3 or 4 days.
Well, and it doesn't help now when there's pictures of Stu now, and it was brought up not negatively, but I saw some of the guys I know brought up the fact that he's looking good. There's no visible bruises for a guy who got hit that many times.
Right. When you see him laying on the floor, you could see there was like there was blood. Like, man, then Rampage Jackson's kid should be hired immediately, because if that was a work, those were the greatest punches in the history of worked punches.
Exactly.
And we just said he's an idiot and he has no idea what's going on, but he was able to work these punches.
Hey, he might be the smartest guy in the
right. And it's like, man, this guy, this whole scenario is mind-boggling. To me, when you watch it, because then the different things came out, and it was like, well, the stream, for people to say, hey, you know what, he's not a trained wrestler. A million people who aren't trained wrestlers get in the ring and do stuff. Okay. Sure. And celebrities who don't really know what they're doing, they got training. They got training for 2 days and they got in there. Not everybody's Logan Paul and Bad Bunny, but Lawrence Taylor had a WrestleMania match. I'm pretty sure he had intense training. But there's stuff that goes in there, and look at Johnny Knoxville and fucking his buddy Umaga.
Yeah.
Part of the bloodline, basically gave them a receipt supposedly for laughing in that situation. And again, you had untrained comedians in there whose show was a show based on them fucking trying to hurt themselves. Right. So to them, getting thrown around by wrestlers was funny to them, or Butterbean fucking punching Johnny Knoxville right in the face and basically knocking him the fuck out. Everything is so different these days in situations, and everybody's looking for the social media clout. And I don't know how much clout he's got, but for independent wrestlers outside of the Knox Pro, I personally never heard of Psycho Stu. I never heard of half those guys, all those guys. The only one I knew was AJ Mana because Toa Leona, who came from Nox Pro, because of Solo Sokoa, whose dad runs Nox Pro. So we know a few people from there, and J Rod came from there, and Jake Painter came from there. And we know a few of those people who ventured out that we utilized, but most of them haven't really had any claim to fame. You know, recently we saw that we'll talk about Ice Williams and Jordan Oasis, and people are posting, oh, yeah, they even released. No, Jordan Oasis wrestled there a couple times, and so did Ice Williams. They're WWE ID through FSW. That is totally separate. And it's like, but everybody lumps everything together. Nobody knows any facts. They know. And it's just like, man, you want to go on there and there's 9,000 posts. You want to fucking go on there and say, no, moron, because it's just a band full of fucking idiots all over the place. And this situation is like, well, let's see what happens. You know, now, is that how they save face? Oh, it was all a work, and then they don't press charges. And if they say, well, this was a work, oh, it was all a work, even though, you know, can they say it's all a work and those punches were worked punches? You know what I mean? And one accidentally slipped. It's like watching a TV show. Oh, well, that was assault. Oh, well, but he did this, and this. And now, as you said, the defense attorney is going to say this. And if I was the prosecutor, I'd say this. And it's like, you know, let the best attorney win, because we've seen it all the time in law. It isn't always the truth that comes out. It's what people believe or reasonable doubt or, I'm not sure. I think he's guilty, but you have to let him off because you have a little bit of doubt in that situation. And it's just like, oh, man, it's like you think the commissions are going to get involved now because of some incident that happened over there? Like, are you people fucking nuts? Everybody's got more. It's like the same thing just in life. Like, one little thing happens, everybody thinks that everything's going to change because of it. It's like, there's so much more going on in life to worry about. It's like this was an isolated incident that it was horrible, but it's staying in the news because we're talking about it. Mark Henry says, well, hey, you know, Psycho Stu's at fault, is also at fault there. So now what do? You go on the headlines. Mark Henry says Psycho Stu was at fault for this. No, that's not what he said. He was saying that there was blame that go around to everybody, and everybody takes just that one line that somebody says and totally twists it, and now everybody fights. Hey, you said this. Well, no, I said this in combination with this, but we're not going to talk about everything else. And it's just take a deep breath, and you know, because next week there's going to be something else that's going to happen.
Is it coming out of Future Shock or Cruel Intention?
You know,
Cruel Summer.
You know, something happened. You know, nobody wants to harp on the positives. Yeah. How many stories were out there that holy fuck Shogun, 9 months after people thought he would never physically be the same again and mentally is wrestling and he's all good. It got a blurb because we talked about it on our show. People talked about it for 2 minutes. Yeah. Wow, I would have thought, wow, that's a great story. Oh, Chris Bay's walking again. Holy fuck. Okay, what's happening next week?
Right.
And the bad stuff, the negative, everybody's looking, because we live in a world where all the wrestling fans, all they ever try to post about or ever they try to talk about is something negative.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, whether it's a match, whether it's a show, oh, this is garbage. Oh, I can't believe they did this. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. You know, well, last week Cross was the fucking big story. This week it's Rampage's kid.
Well,
Next
wait a
week it
minute.
will be something else.
Hold on, Joe. Because, yeah, Rampage's kid made the headlines, but it was right after that happened.
Why, you want to talk about them stealing my match?
Yes,
These
I couldn't believe.
motherfuckers.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. It was Cardona. So what the hell happened, Joe?
Can I be on everybody's payroll? Just give me some money. I'll give you ideas. I say it on the podcast. I say it in the office. I swear the office is bugged.
Well, you've had Brett in the office, so I'm sure he put a.
Man, I'm like, what the fuck?
So do you reach out to him and say, hey, let's make the match happen at FSW, GCW 3?
They're already doing it at House of Glory. They announced the match October 10th, motherfuckers.
Yeah, beat him to it, man. Run it in September on the 12th.
Yeah. Against Dominic Mysterio and Vikingo. That'd be cool to outdraw him.
I was gonna say, if there's any way to make the headlines on that day, it's that one, man. All right, Future Shock. Got some more things going on here. So Po Boys had a good showing, and Young Money, of course, had a good showing at the last show. And Greatness and Tenacious, getting themselves back together after having some singles matches going on. Who's got the most to prove in that match?
Everybody's main goal is to be stars on the main roster.
Right.
Getting on the main roster. And again, Suavecitos have returned. Pretty City has returned to go along with Transcendence, who's exploded, and they are a tag team champions. And the Mariachis, by far the biggest response, the biggest cheers of anybody at the last show. Right. And as good as they are, Lights Camera Faction, and the Regulators tried to come back. And they're one of the top tag teams in Arizona, which puts them as one of the top tag teams, period. Right. And on the cusp, and you got Sky High, who are former champions. So they beat Royce and Jarrell to win the tag titles. So now you got teams. Chase Bell and Po Boys had a lot of momentum. Chase got hurt, was out for over a year, and right. You could see, he had a couple of matches early on Future Shock, and maybe wasn't all there yet. A lot of people seem to think he kind of gassed out because it takes a lot to get back. And being in a tag team makes it a little easier. You can tag in, tag out. So they just need to get those reps. And that's important. But they're a team that you got to watch out for. Young Money, two young kids. Jaden Monroe had a little taste teaming and working with Class and Reno. Good mentors to him. RJ Wild, we had utilized in situations. Good young high flyer, probably 22 years old, and a win by one of those teams makes it a little easier. That if we need somebody for a tag team match on the 12th or the 27th, the main roster show, well, if you win that match, that could kind of put you in there.
Yeah.
We thought enough of Young Money. We needed a fourth team in the at Survival of the Fittest, and they were picked over, say, a Greatness and Tenacious. And Ricky was involved with the singles, and Brandon G got to be in the pre-show. But they've shown that they are definitely a team of the future. So, if they want to keep the momentum going, a nice victory here would be a big deal for them.
Yeah, and it's just interesting to see that mix. Especially with the poor boys. The po' boys are, they got a little bit to prove. I mean, Chase has been around now for, uh, what, 4 or 5 years, and often been injured. Um, Jimmy Jack has been a fan favorite, but where does his career trajectory go at this point? So it's going to be interesting to see. Then we also have C4 and Jacob East, which should be interesting there to, two of the young guys who are showing a little bit of signs of some good stuff, and JKM and Colin Muldoon, which who picked that picture of Colin? Is that airbrushed or?
Nah, that's an 18-year-old pretty boy face.
So yeah, some good stuff.
That's an interesting matchup too. That it's two young guys that we expect good things from, and I'll be the first to admit that personally I've had some issues with both of them. Just with you want to say they're young and dumb or whatever, and I personally believe that both of them have seemingly tried to take some shortcuts. And sure. Maybe those shortcuts are good somewhere else. But in FSW, when you look at our roster and you're getting an opportunity, well, guess what? Fox Valentine's back in training, and AJ Avon's back in training, and Jacob Austin Young's going to be here on September 12th. And there's a lot of guys, and Hero was, just came back a couple months ago. Shogun's back. It's like, wow, those tight slots become even tighter because there's guys who were ahead of you who took time off. Matt Vandergrift's ready to come back.
Yep.
So you guys aren't in that league. Those are upper echelon guys, main roster, ex-tag team champions, ex-champions, guys who are working in New Japan now. They're ahead of you. There's no shortcut for you to get ahead of them. If Jacob Austin Young says, hey, I'm available, I'm not in Japan, see you guys. This is the guy that's getting the spot, who has a track record of 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
And he's at the pinnacle of his career. You guys are at the beginning and trying to squeeze your way in without doing what I feel is necessary. Conversation yesterday. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I run the fucking show. So if I believe that you're trying to bypass something or you're trying to finagle something, you better convince me otherwise, because I'm a pretty good judge of character. I'm a good judge. I tell you like it is. Now, if you choose not to come into the office and ask a question, hell, you're going to be around, wondering what's going on. Oh, I don't know. You didn't show up for setup because you thought you weren't in the pre-show match, and you went and did Sin's show at the CAC, and you never came to break down. You never came to help. And now you're not on this show. Or you never came to train, and now you're not on this show. And maybe you were around a little bit, and then maybe I gave you the opportunity, and your last two matches have been kind of fucking shitty. And you weren't there for Kenny to tell you it was shitty to your face, and you needed to work on this, that, and the other thing because you couldn't make training again.
Yeah.
And that's what I will tell you. What are you going to tell me that makes me say, oh, yeah, you're right, I should have put you on the show?
Right.
Now we're going to give Kevin Demery an opportunity. Johnny Royal, who works harder than most of you guys and is improved and sells tickets and, make sure he's available when needed. That's why he got in the tag match with JKM when the regulators didn't show up. I didn't have a lot of options because 6 of you weren't even there to be considered.
Right. Yep.
Because you made a choice. that you train at FSW, but you weren't going to be at our show.
Right.
And unfortunately for me, in a lot of those situations, I still got to use you because I need those 14 spots filled. But now I only needed 2 spots filled. And it was easy to choose from the 4 or 5 that were there. Yeah, there was some that stuck around, but that wasn't what I needed in that situation. And JKM and Johnny Royal, who may never tag team again, got to be on a casino show in a 4-on-4 Survivor Series type tag match because they stepped up. And again, because of the fact that JKM, after the conversation, was there helping and setting up as he was the other shows that he wasn't on after the issue that we had, gave him that opportunity. Because if he wasn't there that day, it would have been Johnny Royal and somebody else. It's like, you're not going to outslick me, motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you know, Future Shock is where you get the opportunities. And then the next day, you're going to have Cruel Summer. It's going to be 5 p.m. on the 31st, which is Sunday. Again, huge main event with Gypsy Mac defending the FSW women's title in a first blood match against Brittany Brooks. You know, some interesting promos came out this week from both of them. And
yeah, you know, and it's, you know, if you take a step back and it's like both of them, you know, feel they're in the right, of course. That's how it always is with women anyway. They always think they're right. You know, just saying. Not from any of my experiences, of course. But, you know, the thing is, as we always say, oh, there's 2 sides to every story. And I'm like, no, there's 3. It's the same situation here. Because some of what Gypsy Mac says is 100% true about Brittany Brooks. And some of what Brittany Brooks says about Gypsy Mac is true. But you're always going to cloud things. And in all honesty, it has come to a T. And you know, I'm under the impression of watching that Gypsy Mac wasn't looking to knock out Brittany Brooks in that match. I'm looking at, I don't think Brittany Brooks was trying to go out of her way to bloody Gypsy Mac. You know what I mean? They were out there to have a good competitive wrestling match. They were relatively friendly, but in competition, things happen. And I think it's just, you know, it's gone on a lot. So, and a lot of times things don't really manifest and a bunch of things aren't going to happen because maybe the one time after the nose being broke or whatever it was, they've moved on to do other things. But now they've kind of been involved together in certain things. They had another rematch. Then they were on the same team, and that imploded. So, you know, so now here we have it. First blood match from where it all started. You know?
Yeah.
Gypsy looking to get her revenge. But also Gypsy's the champion. Brittany was, you know, in Gypsy's eyes, she came in and they both came in, and I'll be honest, in a totally different trajectory. Gypsy Mac moved here, and she was somebody who was trying to get on any show possible. And she earned it. She worked her way up. But she was overlooked because of the Maseratis and Rochelle Riveter at the time. And Brittany Brooks was brought in as this young 18-year-old sensation from Arizona. So that chip's been on the shoulder. And when both of them got injured, Gypsy Mac stepped up, and she's dominated this division. And since she won the championship, she's beaten who she has to beat.
Yeah.
So, you know, despite the fact that she's already beaten Brittany Brooks, she now has to beat her again.
Right. And to beat her, she has to make her bleed too, which, you know, that's another factor in it, which, Usually you don't have to think about that end. Now, I mean, realistically, if she got Raja Jackson to come in and break Brittany open, she wins, right? It's just whoever bleeds first, right?
That is correct. And neither one, unless one of them's smart and wears a mask like Kane.
Right. The best. Well, see, that was always the question. Kane had that one sleeve that wasn't on, right? He had the one sleeve that he had a long sleeve, and then the one that wasn't on. If he would have just kind of cut his forearm and he bled, right? That's first blood, right?
I guess, yeah. I vaguely remember it because I remember it was like, oh wow, Kane won, and then the next day on Raw he lost it back anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just remember the idea, which was like, oh okay, that was a pretty intriguing way because Austin was like Hogan back in the day where he wasn't losing to Kane,
right?
He wasn't losing, but he lost because of the blood stipulation.
Right. And it furthered the story because it was Undertaker who bloodied him, and that led them down the road to the SummerSlam match, and the three of them were involved that whole summer in the championship picture. So looking forward to see who you get involved in this match to get into the championship picture.
Maybe, yeah. Spoiler alert: Blue Cane is coming. Or cocaine is coming, or Novocaine is coming. Is there one called Novocaine? Maybe I can create Novocaine.
I don't think there is.
There you go. I bet. Well, there you go. It'll be on GCW next week before I can do anything.
And it's going to be the former wrestler Nova, getting him out of retirement. You got Maserati and Remy against Layla and Luke Curtis, which again should be very interesting to see that dynamic. Black Swan and Simone. Nice to see Simone coming back here.
I was hitting up Eli Everfly, hit up the PCW crew, see if they had any younger talent available, and we haven't had Simone on in some years, and I guess she's doing a lot of work at Santino Brothers. So I hit her up, always easy to deal with. So we worked out a deal, and she was like, oh, do you know who I'm working? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, maybe Black Swan, and maybe this one, maybe one of the younger girls, Taylor York. And she responded with, oh, it would be real cool to wrestle Black Swan. So I'm like, okay, done. We're looking to have some good matches. So not a big deal. And, for people who aren't aware of her, she is one of the top women wrestlers in California. So, we're trying to bring in some new blood, obviously, Layla Gray, and Trisha Dora, great acquisitions for us. And Trisha Dora is getting to take on a youngster with a lot of promise. And, this is definitely going to be, wrestling a Maserati and wrestling a Brittany Brooks. Those are big tests for Dana. But you're working somebody who has been doing it for years. Yeah. And she is in AEW and works Ring of Honor regularly. So, this is a real deal match for Dana Lynn, which is a huge, huge benefit for her.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because that's what, and that's also part of the process of trying to put in matchups and help our students. She's our student. So I could have put Trisha Dora in with Fallon Gray from Tucson, who's young and needs work, and Taylor York. But we got three options. I'm going to try to give it to the person who trains with us, who's FSW. And that's always been the key of getting our people the matches that they can learn from. It doesn't matter if Dana Lynn wins or loses this match. If she wins, sky's the limit. But the fact that she gets in there and holds her own is what we're looking to see. We're looking her to see that she's able to go in there and she's able to hang with a major league veteran. It
Yeah.
isn't, it isn't that easy to just have random major league veterans wrestling a school show.
No,
You
no,
know,
I mean, it's great.
yeah,
Even
and it's like,
even even Swan getting a chance to wrestle Simone. I mean, you know, Simone's been the champ at the Women of Wrestling, man. It's like she has a good, solid track record. It's amazing.
and the thing is, Black Swan has done a lot in a very little bit of time, and she is just coming back from injury also,
Yeah.
so she's been very hesitant. Even though she's been back, she hasn't had many matches outside
Yeah.
of doing our survival of the fittest, which again was a 3-on-3 elimination, and it was kind of quick elimination. So she didn't have a lot of work in that match.
Right.
Now the thing is, she has been very highly touted for the brief time she's been in there,
Yeah.
and now by coming to FSW, smart move on her part,
Yeah.
and made the commitment that now there's going to be a lot more opportunities because of the fact that she can work with Maz, and she can work with Gypsy, and she can work with Brittany, and she can work with Layla, and she can work with Trisha Dora.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and now with Simone and a few others that we got in the mix, we got some new talent that we're bringing in, but there's also others that we've worked with that we've seen recently here in FSW, like Jada Stone, who's in TNA, and Brooke Havoc,
Yeah.
and who's in GCW, and maybe Maggie Lee, who worked the Future Legends show, and
Right.
she's in TNA now. And when Mania Week comes in, we've already got an agreement with Title Match Network. They have a women's company that they run, that they're going to be running the Thursday night at 11 p.m. Poder, and now Ed always comes to me, and that's how the Alice Blairs of the world got booked on those shows.
Right.
Now there's going to be a good opportunity that Black Swan will get booked on that show. And hey, if Layla Gray and Trisha Dora, one thing about Ed, he spares no cost to get the best women who happen to be, especially when they're in town.
Right.
Because he'll fly them in. So there's going to be 2, maybe 3 women's shows just at the FSW arena on Mania weekend. And you were talking about, hey, women of wrestling. Well, I talked to my boy, Dave McLean. I love Dave McLean. Dave McLean is a super dude. And we talked, and they're going to be out here in October.
Oh, they're doing another Fremont.
They're doing more than one thing at Fremont. So we're going to be assisting them when they come out.
Nice.
So, hopefully there might be a spot for 1 or 2 of our talents to get on there. But we're in the process of a conversation of, what can we do for you and what can you do for us? So, it's very exciting. The week before Mania, we locked in the deal with the Silver Knights. That's all been confirmed. April 10th, we're going to be at a Silver Knights game, have a few matches. We're also in the process of, now that we finalize that hopefully FSW will run a full-fledged show after, say, a night, the Champions Nighthawks game. So, you've seen it all over the country where, hey, there's a baseball game, and after, come check out the wrestling show. So, it saves us having to pay $25,000 to be at least for them. So, but kind of included with the ticket to the Nighthawks game, hopefully we can lock that deal in. So we got so much going on, and Mania weekend coming up, and other things that we're still looking to put together. It's like, this relationship with Title Match seems to be pretty good, and we're even going to have a show on Triller on Saturday also at 7:00. So
Nice.
last month's Future Shock, which will be new to the people on Triller. So I'm curious to see the numbers of, okay, when we stream it live, we get X amount of people.
Right.
Now, 30 days later, for somebody in Pittsburgh, Portland, Chicago, wherever, if they see FSW on Triller, any show to them is a new show. It doesn't matter if it's pre-taped. So I'm definitely very curious to see what the numbers will be, because immediately following the week after, we're Moment of Truth on September 5th will also air on Triller. And that's a big show with some big things. And then, so the deal is with both companies that if you live stream it, it's a 30-day window. And then after 30 days. So we're going to, Title Match has thousands of viewers on their show. And they have, I think, over 1 million on their YouTube. Yeah. So as big a deal as Triller is with their stuff, well, we're just trying to get ourselves out there.
Right.
And if we can make a few bucks doing it, fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
So, this has been a win-win, and if we get paid from Triller, it'll be great to be on both channels.
Right.
And like I said, according to their window now, they're not really very far behind, but, we'll see.
Well, they better pay you, because you got to pay the talent, including.
That's what I'm saying. She
ain't
cheap.
No, Melissa Santos, she got to match Brian, right?
Yeah, because Brian's on the. Brian's got a guaranteed contract to sit at home. So hey, if you're a wrestling fan and Melissa Santos is the ring announcer, you might get a surprise appearance from AEW superstar and former FSW heavyweight champion Brian Cage.
Right. Who I'm putting money on comes in and busts Brittany Brooks open to help Gypsy Mac retain the title.
So if Gypsy Mac has enough money to pay him off, you never know.
Oh, I'm sure Brian would take it.
Yeah, I love Brian and all, but he ain't doing much for free.
Hey, I saw this post, and I just wanted to get your reaction.
No truer words have ever been spoken.
You gotta love that Tom posted that himself.
Yeah, I guess there was no MAGA post to make that day.
But the bell rings so much clearer when he hits it.
Yeah. It's amazing how difficult it is to get somebody to hit the side of the bell consistently. It's like, do you not notice when you hit it on the top, there's a thump to it instead of a ding?
Well, that's the thing, Joe. You've trained so many wrestlers, managers, referees, ring bell training.
100 a month, ring bell trainer.
Right. Oh man. All right. As we get ready to kind of wrap up, one big announcement that I can't find the graphic, but had the graphic for Jacob Austin Young coming back and getting his banner for signing with New Japan, man.
Yes, that's the Wall of Fame ceremony. Not only will he appear for the Wall of Fame ceremony, he will be wrestling. So Jacob Austin Young makes his return, a former Nevada State champion. Was he Nevada State champion?
Yeah, because he was right before he left. He
right. Nevada State champion, tag team champion.
Yep.
Might have been a No Limits champion. I don't remember. I think he was.
Wasn't that his first No Limits when he was in the whatchamacallit?
In the following, yes. Oh. So he's won 3 championships. And I know him and Gregory Sharp have a complicated past, kind of started together. Jacob Austin Young has been booked for 2 shows before he goes back to Japan, the 12th and 27th. So it's been already discussed the possibility of maybe Jacob Austin Young challenging for the heavyweight championship. So,
and then win that belt and take it to Japan.
and then anybody who, when we talk about a world championship, there you go.
Yeah, defended on New Japan.
Yes,
whatever their streaming show is over in Japan.
you know.
Oh man.
So we're always looking to get the word out. We're always looking to expand. So it's a big moment, you know. The JAY, you know, he started with us. He moved from Phoenix, Arizona, lives there again now. But he moved, uprooted his life because he felt the best chance for him to make it in this business was training at FSW.
Yeah.
And it's another notch on our thing. You know, we love Jake. You know, he's been with us forever. And it took a while and perseverance. You know, you can't deny that. It's, you know, how many people with similar skill sets, 7, 8, 9 years of it on the grind say, you know what, I'm giving up.
Right.
And in our day and age, it's like, you know, hey, WWE, they're going young. And then, you know, they're going young. And then all of a sudden they sign Tama Tonga and Jeff Cobb, who is close to 40 years old. And Sean Ricker becomes LA Knight, and he's in his late 30s. And Damian Priest and all these guys. So even though initially they might be looking for you at 23, 24, just because you don't make it at the WWE by 30, man, if you can kill it somewhere else, now all of a sudden you're being looked at.
Yep, build that brand. Exactly.
You know, and nobody looked at let's just say, nobody thought Jeff Cobb was like all of a sudden going to go to WWE at this age. You know, he was New Japan. It seemed like that was where his bread was buttered. You know, TJP, same thing, even though he was in WWE. Like certain guys click with certain companies, you know, and, you know, that's that foot in the door. You know, Matt Vandergriff, New Japan Strong, hasn't gotten to Japan yet. But maybe the minute he gets to Japan, you know, who knows what's going to happen. And with AEW, look at Chris's partner, Ace Austin. He made his debut, and obviously they think highly enough of him to give him Ricochet as their first match.
Right.
So
and highly enough to have him lose to Ricochet as his first match, which I still don't get.
Which is fine. Everybody doesn't need to come in and win. They want people to be established. Ricochet shouldn't lose to Ace Austin right now. You know, Ricochet is a top guy who has created a character that nobody knew existed. He's literally a main guy.
I don't know. I mean, you know, we just, you know, Joe, you saw him. Ricochet, all he does is dance in the ring with Rich Swann. And yet Ace, he's been a tag champion with you. So I don't know, man.
You know, not everybody can debut and beat Lance Hoyt and beat Brian Cage like Hook. You know, unfortunately, Ace ain't a nepo baby. You know what I'm saying? Where some guys come in and then they can't lose. You know, look at the difference with a Nick Wayne. He's got a job, and he wins some, he loses some. You know, everybody can't have the undefeated streak. Everybody can't come in as their debut and win. It's just the way it is. Didn't Ricochet lose in his debut in AEW?
Probably. I would assume.
He may have. Didn't he feud with like Page or Adam Page or somebody else?
Yeah.
Wins and losses matter, but they also don't matter the way you position. You could lose 5 matches in a row, come into the company, and now we decide to push you. It doesn't matter. Cross can barely be on TV and lose matches, but for whatever reason, the people want to see him.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn is loved, yet people knew that Sami Zayn would not be hurt by losing to Cross because everybody just wanted to see Cross succeed.
Right.
You know, and it's how you're made, and the wins and losses, you know, in certain situations they are very important, and in some situations it doesn't hurt you if you're good enough. You know,
Right.
you're a young guy trying to climb in, and you're trying to, you know, scrap and make something of your career. Yeah, you probably do got to get some wins,
Right.
but you know, you also, nobody was ever going to bring in somebody and sacrifice The Rock or Steve Austin or John Cena, as we saw when guys like Barrett and Miz got over. Man, that you really had to earn to get that win. Even though Bray Wyatt back in the day, it was like, man, all they need is that win over Cena, and it looks like they become a
Yeah.
superstar, and they made you. Yet they would not pull the trigger. Same thing with Reigns keeping the belt for so long. Like, oh, and nobody can beat him. You know, wrestling is so subjective, and sometimes as good as it is, it's as bad as it is, as we've seen. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, before we wrap, let's talk a little bit about, you know, the WWE ID guys,
Yeah.
Jordan Oasis and Ice Williams. You know, it's been released. They were released 2 months before their contract expired.
Right.
Now, talking with people, we have Giovanni Vinci, moved to Vegas. He's been training, coming by the school a couple times, had a chance to chat with him. And the bottom line is there's never a real reason given, and it's the wrestling business is right place, right time.
Right.
And, you know, maybe they felt that Ice Williams' time was not now. And you could see, you know, a little discouraged, obviously. You know, it's not easy when somebody's like, oh, don't worry about it. You're young. There's this place, there's that place. And it's like, yeah, but I was already my foot in the door in the biggest company in the world where I wanted to be.
Right.
And it's like, well, if they didn't want me, well, how do I know a TNA or an AEW don't want me either? You know, and there's going to be a lot of self-doubt and stuff. And it's like Jordan Oasis got in the best shape I've ever seen him in, you know,
Yeah.
big guy, you know, athletic. You know, unfortunately, there was a lot of times that schedules didn't match up, and we didn't really get to utilize him as an ID guy. He's going to be on the show September 12th, crazy enough, which we had this good idea about using him. Well, I guess we can't use the fact that he's an ID guy anymore, you know.
Well,
And
former WWE ID.
former WID. I hadn't even talked to Ice until I saw him the other day, which was the day that I saw that he got released, which I was shocked. I didn't know. With Oasis, I knew he had mentioned it to me because we were talking about the 12th. And it all came down Saturday. You know, it was just like that. And Ice Williams, I hadn't even talked to about the 12th because I know we were pretty crowded, and it was like he had just lost to Sharp. So it was like, yeah, I'll probably give him some time because his schedule and going to the Evolve thing. And Ice Williams is now signed to work the 12th, and he wants to have an open challenge. So, you know, he learned a lot from being in there. And, you know, it's like the Wizard of Oz thing, you know. Everybody can believe what they think how WWE works. Well, he's got some inside information
Right.
that it's not illegal to give out. And he has really taken a step in when, hey, Kenny's not here today and Ice is there, and he kind of stepped in. And you could see he's a natural leader, you know. And what Ice got to, you know, have for the last 10 months is invaluable.
Yeah.
And, you know, as discouraging as it can be, it's a fantastic thing that happened to him. You know, how many guys have left, come back, and, you know, if you're good enough, that you're already been on their radar. So
Well, and we also have to recognize the fact too that out of all these things that WWE has, the ID program is probably, the lowest on the chain, right? And it's not a discouraging thing. That's actually a good thing because you're still on their radar, right? You haven't made your debut in NXT. They haven't developed your character. They've give you a little seasoning, but they haven't gone to the next level. You haven't been under a contract of X amount of money in which they have to release you because that contract doesn't float right now. There are so many things that are positive. Hell, I should go to Texas, go to Booker there at Reality Wrestling and chase the heavyweight champion over there.
Yeah, isn't there champ some bum or something?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, But yeah, and that's the thing. It's like with Ice Williams, it's like he's in a good position, but it's going to take him a little bit of time to, settle everything down from there. And it's great to see that it's like, hey, I got this idea. I'd love to come out on the 12th. Of course, Ice, you want to wrestle a match? We'll do an open challenge. We'll figure this out, and we'll go from there. And now his focus is on helping the younger kids.
Yeah.
And hey, guys, this is what I learned from my short time there, and this is what they're looking for. And one thing we know about WWE is individuality is very important to them.
Right.
They tried to make everybody their own entity.
Right.
It reminded me of when went and did the OWE stuff in China. That it was almost like I said when I came back, it was like not America's Got Talent, but like American Idol, and everybody was their own person. And like one guy, he did the nunchucks, and then another guy did the acrobats, and everybody, you weren't the same. And then years later, I'm looking at NXT, and that's how it kind of reminds me of like, well, that girl's got green hair. So there's not another girl with green hair. And this one has this look, and this one has that look, and this one's wearing all leather, and this one's wearing jeans. And it's like they present you as an individual entity. Look at Ice Williams. So Ice Williams goes in and they have these ID matches. And Gabe Sapolsky, who runs the ID program. And Ice Williams wins over here, and he wins over there, and he wins. And Ice Williams is still undefeated. Well, a lot of guys weren't undefeated. Why did they make Ice Williams undefeated over somebody else? Well, they must have really liked Ice Williams. Now they do the tournament. And in the first round, Ice Williams wins. And in the second round, Ice Williams wins. This guy's still undefeated. They bring him into the semifinals, and he loses it to the eventual champion, Cappuccino Jones.
Yep.
Okay? And then what happens? Ice turns and lays out Cappuccino Jones. So they're basically telling a story of Ice Williams, that when he finally lost, they turned him. So to me, it seems kind of odd that all of a sudden, hey, they just washed their hands from a guy that 2 weeks ago they just did the program with. So I'm pretty sure this wasn't a Gabe Sapolsky move, like, hey, let's get rid of this guy. It's the higher-ups decided they wanted to do something different.
Well, it's it's a corporation too.
My personal opinion is they let them go early because now they're in process of doing something else. Just because Aaron Roberts also got released, was 3. One of the other guys, I forgot who, he ended up quitting. So 4 of the 17 or 18 are no longer there. Yeah. But they're also in the process of a 1-year contract that expires in 2 months. So don't be surprised that a few more get released and then they restock.
Yeah, that's
so.
And they made it very clear during NXT's PLE this past weekend when they ran stuff about the ID program. Made it very clear that Cappuccino Jones and Kylie Ray, they're the champs, but at any point they can go anywhere, defend the title, and if they lose, whoever wins that belt gets the ID contract as well.
Hey,
So it
Gabe,
seems like,
we'd like to have Cappuccino Jones wrestle Bodie.
yeah,
Hey,
man.
maybe we can hire AJ Mana and he could shoot on Cappuccino and Bodie could win the match, brother. What do you think?
I just like the idea of you hiring AJ Mana now. I want to see that. Why don't you hire AJ Mana and bring back Joey Ryan, because that had some outrage about
Yeah,
4
well,
weeks ago.
we saw what happened with that one last month.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you what, man. It's like you have to weave through everything, and it's like it's unfortunate. Every situation that happens, and and everybody's trying to do the best that they can, and when even with the, let's just say with Knox Pro, they thought, hey, we can do this angle, it'll be cool, blah 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 blah, and obviously for whatever reason, you saw from the stream with Rampage's kid, like he had an agenda behind this.
Yep.
And we've had people that we thought were good people, and nobody's immune to it. Every school's going to have bad apples. There's bad people in life. Yep. And you can't crucify everybody unless you see everything that comes out. Now, hey, did they have this thing? Don't talk to the cops, and they're trying to cover it up and things like that. Yeah, that's a bad look for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
But go ask Mark Henry, and he thinks one thing. And I saw some MMA guys who love Rampage, and they feel bad for him because Rampage is trying to. It's his son. Like, I'll blast my kid. Everybody knows it at FSW. When my kid fucks up, I'll blast my kid, but he's still my kid. Yeah. And with Rampage, it's like you could tell somebody something, just like in everything. When I tell people at the school certain things, if you don't want to listen, you don't want to listen. You ain't going to listen. Yeah. And, you got to be careful in that situation. Like, as I said, I would have never put Phil Baroni in that situation, but we utilized him. And when we did utilize Phil Baroni, the first match he had was against Mike Modest, who can hold his own, and he knew what the fuck he was doing. But Phil also had respect for Mike Modest. He didn't have a lot of respect for a lot of people, but we had to bring him along.
Right.
And same thing with Bonner. And working with Disco and having Disco as their manager because he can try to keep them in line. And because they were loose cannons, but it didn't mean they had no value, and it didn't mean they wouldn't do business, but you were still weary going into it.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Because it's the wrestling business. You're getting MMA guys. Ego's important, There's conversations had. I remember Sin like, you're having Stephen Bonner lose a match? Yeah, he's losing to a guy who won a gold medal jiu-jitsu thing in Graves, who knows what the fuck he's doing. Yeah. And this is a storyline. It's wrestling. You can lose, you can win. Is Kevin Nash really going to lose to Rey Mysterio? Yep, because that's what the booker fucking said.
Yeah.
And everybody's having a field day. As I said, next week there's going to be like, hey, did you see blah, 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 blah. And now, thankfully, we have fodder for next week.
Right. Exactly.
So hey, somebody in wrestling do something fucking stupid next week.
And it could be someone on this show if you want.
Could be.
Or someone on that show.
Hey, or maybe we could talk about how great everything was and have a week of unbelievable things that happened. We have 5 announcements to make that are all so wonderful. Because, like, again, today we had 10 things to talk about. 9 were really good, and people will focus probably on the one thing that we talked about that wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
So, thankfully, we didn't have to deal with something like that. If we did, it'd be tough.
Yeah.
Well, because, when you're running a show, I'm in the back sometimes. I'm on commentary sometimes. I'm in the front sometimes. I'm in the office because there's some production things going on. So if somebody chooses to do something, we've been lucky, because a lot of people sometimes say that our crack security staff ain't so crack security. And that's the truth. You're utilizing a lot of the kids to be there, who are so enamored sometimes in the wrestling that they're not paying attention to a lot of things, that they're just they're watching the show like, oh shit. Or, hey, at the Chris Bay show, you think most people were watching to make sure nothing goes wrong? No, they're watching all the fucking superstars that they're trying to get a picture with and say hello.
Right.
And all you can do is try your best. If you try your best, then there's no excuse. It's hard to blame somebody who's trying to do good.
Yeah. Yep.
Just don't be a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's the key in life. That's the main.
Just don't be a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I think you got your new school shirt. The FSW.
Yeah, it should be a school shirt. Just don't be blank.
Yeah. Oh man.
And maybe he can get a cut of that since he lost his real job. Supposedly. Because it's a work, according to so his real work got rid of him just because they wanted to be in on the work.
Right, exactly. Oh man! All right, again, this Saturday, Future Shock.
Yes, check out the future stars: Davion and Demir. No DQ, chain match with the Russian sickle involved. Dating Cole and Bodie, and then we got the women, Layla Gray and Luke Curtis against Remy and Maz. We got a first blood match, Gypsy and Brittany. We got Taylor York, Dana Lynn versus Trisha Dora, Black Swan, and Simone. Tickets still available. Still got some front rows.
Nice. Yeah.
Surprisingly, we still got some front rows.
Yeah, so let's get some walk-ups. So let's get some advances, and
there'll be a poster available. Hey, maybe even a meet and greet.
Yeah, with Remy Marcel, right?
There you go. And
that's
Luke
where
Curtis.
everyone's. Yeah,
you can take a picture with Luke Curtis in the Nick Bockwinkel Memorial Battle Royal plaque.
There we go.
A picture with Luke is $5. With the plaque, it's $20.
And because he's got the plaque, and the 15 goes to FSW, right?
Of course.
Yeah, there we go. All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in this week. Wrestling, everybody.